Florida's Trump-loving Republican Governor Ron DeSantis this week announced his intentions to pass a new law that will absolutely stick it to those suppressive social media companies who decide to kick Florida politicians off their platforms. And well, I'm just going to tell you what DeSantis said in his own words. This was during a little press conference earlier this week. DeSantis says, "We have seen the power of their censorship over individuals and organizations, including what I believe is clear viewpoint discrimination." Although, by the way, as we discussed in a video earlier this week based on a study out of New York University, that's completely false. Conservatives, in fact, have the loudest voices on social media, so just in case you haven't, maybe go take a look at that video from a couple days ago. Continuing DeSantis' statement. Under our proposal, if a technology company deplatforms a candidate for elected office in Florida during the election, a company will face a daily fine of $100,000 until the candidate's access to the platform is restored again. It is hilarious that all of a sudden Republicans are the ones advocating that, oh, no, every company has to cater to every person who wants to use that company. That's how it works. Unless, of course, you're trying to, discriminate against gay people or Muslims or, anybody you don't like. But when the discrimination is on you, or the perceived discrimination, then suddenly you say, oh my God, I'm being so oppressed. You have no idea what it's like to be a young conservative in this country and be this oppressed. Yeah, you're still not anywhere near as oppressed as literally any other group in this country, because y'all are the ones doing the oppressing for those individuals. You've literally gone to the Supreme Court to argue that companies have the right to discriminate against groups of people. Like, that was conservatives that did that. And now that it's suddenly affecting you guys, suddenly you're pissed. And here's the thing, it's not even really affecting you. Regardless, DeSantis' little proposal here is 100% unconstitutional. You cannot fine them $100,000 a day because they won't let somebody who violated their terms of service come back into their program. And we know that because the Supreme Court's already ruled on that in a case that originated in Florida, because apparently that's just what the hell we do down here. That case, it was Miami Herald versus Tornillo or Tonio. And what happened in that case is that Miami Herald ran an article critical of a politician way back when. This was like 50 years ago. So the state of Florida said, aha, Miami Herald, we're going to get you. We're going to pass a law that says if you criticize a politician, you have to run a piece from the politician refuting what you said. And all the courts who looked at this law immediately after it was passed said, yeah, you can't do that. You can't actually force any company that has editorial control over their content to run anything. That's a clear violation of the First Amendment, and so is Ron DeSantis' proposal that he announced earlier this week. On the same grounds as Miami Herald v. Tornillo, that's what DeSantis essentially proposed earlier this week, and it'll get shot down by courts if it even becomes law at all. Because DeSantis doesn't care what happens from this point forward. Like, you have to understand that, right? DeSantis wasn't doing this because he actually wants to do it. DeSantis was doing this because he wants to gain more ground with conservatives. The man has absolutely bungled the state of Florida's response to COVID. And so he needs public back on his side. He needs that Republican base back on his side. He's got an election coming up in just, under 2 years. He's got to get with it or else he ain't coming back. And this is his way of tapping into the same kind of anger that other conservatives in the state have tapped into and saying, look, I wanted to do this. It's these liberal courts, even though they're not liberal down here at all. They're all packed with conservatives. But he'll argue these liberal courts wouldn't let me do this, but I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for the voiceless who keep getting kicked off of these platforms. Please, for the love of God, ignore the tens of thousands of people in our state who've died from COVID and, re-elect me. That's what this is. This is a re-election pitch for a governor who is sinking pretty quickly in a sea of COVID in his own state.